Welcome to Vibrational Revelations. My name is Elena Bensonoff.
I am Alejandro Ferradas.
And today we have a very special guest, our friend Lada Duncheva, Lada from AstroLada. We absolutely love Lada. And of course, as soon as we revealed Gates, William Henry Gates Sr., Jr., and Melinda Gates, this was a month and a half ago, I believe, or 2 months ago in our community, I immediately texted Lada and I said, we have to do an episode because I'm so curious about their astrological charts as well. And it will be interesting to compare the frequencies and what do the signs have to tell us, or what do the stars have to share with us as well.
Thank you so much for having me, Elena, Alejandro. I always love working with you. Always excited when we're discovering something new. So yeah, let's start. Let's dive deep.
Let's start. Yes. So for those people, of course, our community knows that we are breaking this down into two parts. On our end, part one will be where we reveal frequencies, right, which looks at different aspects of how each person looks at different areas of their life, whether it's health, personal growth, how they relate to others, including relating to self, and many other aspects. And then part two is looking at percentages. And percentages, the reason we look at percentages is because a person can be experiencing all kinds of emotions, but the percentages give us an indication, an idea of how aligned they are with their divine purpose. Where do they stand as far as how well they're playing their divine role? How much do they enjoy it? How clear and self-aware they are? How compassionate and empathic they are? So these are all different aspects that give us deep insight from our perspective into different characters. And then, of course, you will be adding your magic with astrology to it. So let's start with William Henry Gates II. And this is Bill Gates' father. So Bill Gates' father, William Henry Gates, incarnated at the frequency of 100. A frequency of 100 is the frequency of fear. He was born at the frequency of 100 fear, and his overall frequency was 100 fear. So he was very consistent. Health, he viewed through the lens of 50, which is apathy. Finances, this is his highest number. Finances, he viewed through the lens of love, 500. Creativity, he viewed through the lens of 100 fear. So created from the lens of fear, which is interesting. Relationships.
Fear-based.
Fear-based, yeah, exactly. Relationships he viewed through the lens of 50, manipulation. Personal growth, 55, manipulation. Philanthropy, frequency of 50, manipulation. So very interesting.
He's a big philanthropist as well. They were saying if you go on Google, they'll say philanthropist, humanitarian, philosopher, but it all comes from this place of manipulation and apathy type.
Right. It's create probably a public image, but it's very different than what the frequencies reveal. He viewed his intuition through the lens of 50 as well. And then, of course, we look at percentages. How much does he enjoy, or did he enjoy playing his role in this lifetime? 98%. And this is something that for those of you that are new, probably your audience, they're wondering, what does that have to do with how much he enjoyed his role? Well, we talk about the light players and the shadow players. So in this case, he represents a shadow player. So therefore, he enjoys his role almost to the fullest, 98%. He was in his ego, 99%. And out of that 99%, 91% is superior. So he's ruled by superior ego. There's two types.
He's better, and inferior thinks they're less than.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yes. And we tend to see in combinations with several things when relationships are at 50 and their superior ego is very high and compassion and empathy are low, or compassion is low, usually it's an indication of a narcissist, a very clear indication of a narcissist. He was in the now, 96%, so he was very connected to whatever he was here to do. He was in his integrity, 80%. Self-awareness, he was very much aware of his inner and outer self, 97%. He was in his clarity, 96%. So yeah, he was on point. And his alignment with divine purpose, which means the role he came here to play, he was 97% aligned with it. So he was a shadow player that played out his role really well. And his alignment with personal purpose has to do with his achievements as a human being, was at 96%. That means he felt pretty good about everything that he achieved in his lifetime. His compassion was at 40% and empathy 85%. So very interesting, very low compassion. And then, of course, we decided recently, this will be new for your audience, recently, probably about a couple of months ago, we started checking frequencies of before incarnation. Like what happens, because a lot of our community members wanted to know, is there a change in frequency for a lot of the people that we've been testing? And in many cases, there isn't. And in some cases, we do see a drastic difference. So in the case of William Henry Gates II, his frequency before incarnation was also 100, which is fear.
Yeah, he comes as a shadow player motivated by fear. He carries the agenda of fear, and he's done a great job. We can't judge him. God created him for that role. He's playing it. Okay, wow.
Yeah. Yes. So it will be interesting to see, do you want to do the charts now, or should we do them later, or how do you want to do it? After. Okay.
Clear my screen.
Okay, excellent. So the next is the son, William Henry Gates III.
That's Bill Gates, as we know.
That's Bill Gates. Bill Gates, the one and only. The most wanted person in the news at the moment. One of them.
He incarnated at the frequency of 200, the level of courage. Was born at the frequency of 100, the level of fear. And his overall vibrational frequency is 100, the level of fear. He views health through the lens of fear as well, at 100. Finances, 400. Creativity, 110.
Fear.
Fear, yes. Relationships, 20. That is the level of shame. Personal growth, 55. Level of apathy. Philanthropy, 20. Level of shame.
The biggest philanthropist in the world.
Yeah, the foundation.
So it's shameful what they're doing, basically.
Yeah.
Intuition, 55. Level of apathy. Now, when it comes to how much Bill Gates is enjoying the role that he's playing in this reality as William Henry, is a 60%.
So he's not enjoying so much.
Not as much.
Pressured into what he's doing, maybe to some extent.
We have a feeling that he was, well, Alejandro will finish, and then we can elaborate a little bit on what we felt.
That happens often when the person, like in his case, he incarnated at 200, right? The level of courage. So he was incarnated on the side of power, end of the spectrum. But then now, currently, he's vibrating on the force end of the spectrum. So he is below 200 at 100 level of fear, right? So he is pretty much, in a way, deviating away from the frequency, his non-territory, right? So it's almost impossible to enjoy it.
And he didn't come here actually as a shadow player. And this is the part that you'll see as we reveal, and this is why he's not enjoying his role. And most likely it was due to, it will be interesting to see if his chart shows it, abuse.
And that's quite fascinating what you're saying, because I have similar observations that it was something that happened to him, and the pressure from outside. And I'll show you where it shows where it comes from as well. So.
Now, in the ego, how much he's paying attention to the ego is 100%. And 99% of that represents the inferior version of the ego.
Opposite of the
I'm
father.
not good enough. I'm not. Oh, wow.
Yeah, whatever he does, it doesn't matter how much energy, time he puts into it and effort. At the end, he's going to feel like it's not good enough, you know?
Mm-hmm. Insecure, very insecure.
I almost want to embrace him now. It's
Sad.
so
Yeah, it's very sad.
Now, how much time he spends in the present moment, in the now? 35% of the time. Integrity, how loyal and faithful he is to his core values and beliefs, to his truth, right? Doesn't have to be my truth or your truth or her truth, is 94%.
Mm-hmm.
So he's loyal to his truth, his own truth. Self-awareness, 58%. Clarity, 82%. Now his alignment with divine purpose is 74%.
Mm. So he's not playing the role fully that he came to do. 74 is, you like to see it at 90s or 80s, isn't it?
Right. Yes. Yeah. And that has a lot to do with the fact that he is vibrating below his the frequency he incarnated at. You know. That's what we've seen as or identified as a pattern when that happens. Alignment with personal purpose is 100%. So he has a sense of fulfillment, right, with everything he has accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
Compassion, how compassionate is Bill Gates is 60%. 100% being the top, right, the highest.
Mm-hmm.
Empathy, 88%. Now, energy purity is 89%. And that is, a great indicator, tells you how ready you are to shift to the next level. Right?
Or how much you embody the frequency.
How much you embody in the current frequency as well. In this case, his next level will be the 125, which is the level of desire. Yeah, once he transcends out of the fear level.
Fear and the 20s, the frequencies of shame, which is twice he has it in philanthropy and relationships. I don't see him shifting.
Just imagine you're the richest man in the world and you live in fear.
That becomes their driving force, right? And most of the time, if not always, it is really non-ending. It never ends because the fear of losing it, the fear of not getting it,
or not being enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fear of failure. It's a powerful driving force, but it's also it definitely pulls you away from being in alignment with your divine purpose. When you incarnated on the power end of the spectrum, right? Because we have seen those that incarnated below 200 and they came in to play a role in the shadows, as Elena.
Like his dad.
Right, like his dad. Mm-hmm. Then they're enjoying their role to the fullest, to 100%. And they could be, like in the case of his dad, he's 97% in alignment with his divine purpose, even though he has low numbers,
So Bill Gates, he was born, he could have taken the light side or the dark, and he had to make a choice and kind of, yes, absolutely.
It's kind of very similar, different, but similar to the path we did together with Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, of course, came at a much higher frequency, and he dropped to the 50s. So he also chose to play out a shadow role, right? So he was completely out of alignment with his divine path. So in a similar way, Bill Gates is also choosing to play out there at the moment, or for many, many years, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even though he could have done a lot more, worked for the light and
mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that struggle is what brings his joy to those levels, low levels of, in his case, being in the 60%.
Mm-hmm. Or being in the present moment is very, very low.
And now his vibrational frequency before incarnation was 200 as well, the same as his frequency in utero. Mm-hmm. Exactly the same.
All right, lady.
Now, Melinda Ann Gates, soon to be ex-Gates.
Yes.
Right? This gave us a lot of insight.
She 100, the level of fear, was born at the frequency of 50, level of apathy, and her overall vibrational frequency is 50. So she stayed there, right? The level of apathy. Mm-hmm. She views health through the lens of fear at 100. Finances, 500, the level of love. So she has a loving relationship with the aspect of finances.
Similar chart to his dad, actually, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Creativity at 55, the level of apathy. Relationships, 20, the level of shame. Personal growth, 50, apathy. Philanthropy, would you like to guess?
Or 20.
10.
What is 10 vibrated? Out of
10
1,000.
is below shame. Yes, out of 1,000, yes.
Wow. So
10.
it's something destructive. Whatever they're doing philanthropically is destructive to the world.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Intuition, 50. The same, almost,
all three of them.
Bill Gates is 50 and his father 50 as well, right? 50, 55. Now, in the joy, how much she's enjoying the role that she's playing as Melinda in this reality is 97%.
She's a shadow player.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In the ego, 100%. And 100% of that is the superior version of the ego.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
It's
in the now, how much time? Huh?
A man who is 100% in his inferior ego, he thinks he's less than she. Who's pulling the strings there?
Strings.
Sounds clear, yeah. In that
Right, right.
Exactly.
It is somehow like she is replicating what he experienced with his dad, possibly, yes. Right? Because his dad is in the superior 91%.
This is incredible because the same thing shows in the horoscope. I'll show you.
Wow! Oh my gosh! I can't wait.
Yes, and in the now, or how much time she spends in the present moment, in the now, 73%. Integrity, 93%. So she's, loyal to her core values and beliefs, to her truth, right? Self-awareness, 91%. So she's very well aware of what's happening in her outer world and her inner world. Clarity, 97%. She has a clear vision where her target is, right? Alignment with divine purpose, 92%. Uh-huh.
She's on her mission.
Yeah, she came with a mission and she's fulfilling it, yeah.
Right? Alignment with personal purpose, 100%. Now, compassion, 42%. So we often find, we can say that after reading so many people, we have found as a pattern that those that have, especially 100% in the ego and then 100% in the superior ego, and with a very low numbers in the compassion, like in her case at 42%, they without a doubt have narcissistic tendencies, or if not full-blown narcissist, Yes. Now, when it comes to empathy, 77%, and energy purity, 96%.
Oh, so she's
embodying 50 pretty well.
Yes, she's almost embodying it to the fullest, right? And and in this case as well, if she gets to 100% when it comes to energy purity, will be just to embody that frequency fully, but not necessarily to shift to a higher level, right? Because she seems to be extremely comfortable with that level of apathy, manipulation, and so forth, right? Mm-hmm. Now, her vibrational frequency before incarnation was at 100, the same as her frequency in utero.
Very interesting. This is why for us it was a very kind of clear picture that he was a victim as a child, and then his dad was a perpetrator, and he chose exactly the same thing because it was unresolved, and the same thing mirrored in his marriage. But it's interesting because they have quite a few similar frequencies. So he brought himself into that level, maybe almost like seeking for approval from his relationship. And it's interesting with the divorce that's happening now, you know, makes you question a lot of the things we're seeing as well.
Yeah. Wow, it's fascinating because that's what I can share as well my screen with you for those the viewers that know astrology a little bit, to see where I see the story from. I'm gonna go. We only have the time of birth of Bill Gates, so I could see the most from his horoscope, and I'm gonna mention the horoscopes of the father and the wife after that very quickly. We can't see many specific details, but only if you have the time of birth of a person, you can see very specific where problems come from and everything. So the first thing that stands out, and I've spoken about the horoscope of Bill Gates before, but we spoke about where it shows he'll have money, how it shows he'll be like very successful. We've never spoken now with the light of what you mentioned, the vibration of shame, of apathy. Well, there is something in his horoscope that the ancient Vedic astrologers, they told us that if there is a malefic planet with Saturn and another planet in the 5th house, and that's what Bill Gates has, it's called a shamed combination. Someone who is ashamed, something shameful happened to them, and sometimes either they were shamed, and to be shamed, this, you know, it can be mean abuse type of thing. And also it can mean that they can do something shameful in their life that they're shamed. And it's happening in the 5th house. 5th house, and it's in the sign of Scorpio, first of all. So this is a shame combination of Sun, Saturn and Venus. And I'm saying it's not for everyone who have this combination. It's a shame. It's only if it's in the 5th house. It's very specific. So this a shame combination is first in Scorpio, which is the sign of abuse. So there was some kind of abuse there, and in trauma. And then it becomes his actions later in life. 5th house rules children. Something connected to children that will put or is putting a lot of shame on his name. And as you know, there were hundreds of thousands of kids that with the polio vaccine that developed polio themselves, and he was kicked out of India for those poisons, you know. And of course, Scorpio rules vaccinations and poisons. Scorpio is the sign of poisons. The sting of the Scorpio is like an injection, you know. And it's the sign also of healing, of remedies, you know, but a lot of remedies are poison. So, but there is, in his case, is activated by a shameful combination. So there will be a lot of shame on you. And it's seen, if you go and look at his profile or post, he says 90% underneath is he's being attacked and he's being shamed by others. But this all started in his own childhood. Maybe as youth, the father is involved because the sun is part of this combination. The sun usually rules the father in the horoscope. And Venus is involved. Venus rules the wife. And Venus conjunct. So the wife and the father, the two planets of the wife and the father, create this shameful combination with Saturn. And Saturn is, of course, control. Absolute control. So the wife will be extremely controlling as the father is controlling. And because it's Scorpio, and because we saw he vibrates at lower vibrations, it can be either even sexual traumas that comes from early childhood, and after that manipulative, emotional, again, sexual control somehow, or something that is quite manipulative that comes from the father and from the wife, plus other business partners he might have. They are contributing to such kind of behaviors that make him feel shameful and make him do shameful things. And you can see a bit more if you delve into the father. Of course, he has this amazing combination, Jupiter conjunct Pluto, which is called the combination of billionaires. He is extremely rich, you know. Also, a few others like Warren Buffett have it, but Bill Gates has it in the 2nd house of money. And you can see Jupiter rules a lot of money in the second house. Pluto, even hidden money. Where is the money coming from? Jupiter rules the sixth house. In the second, the money is coming from medical supply or medical things, because sixth house rules anything to do with medicine, with pharmaceuticals. But they fall, and Jupiter also rules the ninth house, which is the house of the father. So I just wanted to say something. I've even prepared it. Just a second, let me see my, where did I put it? They fall, Jupiter, the planet that rules the fathers, the rule of the ninth house, falls on the star called Alphard. And in ancient books, it says that the star of Alphard is, just a second, is slovenly, very immoral, shameless, mean, sorrowful, and strong passions, lack of self-control, immorality, revolting deeds. So that's the father. Jupiter here is the other planet that rules the father, because it rules the ninth house, and it falls on the star of heart. And the star of heart also means is especially connected with poisons, that like blood poisoning, murder by poison, poison hatred in women, gas poisoning, and anything life poisons like drugs and any pharmaceuticals that can be poisonous. So this started with the father. This because Jupiter rules the father, don't forget, it also falls on the star of pharmaceuticals, poisons, and anything like that. Is a star that gives money here. Because it's in the second house, combination for great wealth, and it is connected to pharmaceuticals. So here, and there was something really sinister about the father, because this star in particular of heart is quite sinister. I told you, revolting actions. This what I quoted is from 2000 years, what is written about the star. It's not language we use nowadays, but they were quite extreme in 2000 years. But they say revolting actions, you know, I don't want to, lack of self-immorality, revolting deeds, shamelessness, and poisons. It's connected with poisons. And it's in the sign of children, Leo. So there is another connection here. And I just wanted to show you, you know, how the wife is very controlling. There is very little ability to enjoy relationships here, because when Saturn in the male chart is conjunct Venus, Saturn suppresses anything it is. Venus is also how women treat you and how your wife is, so very controlling, putting you down, but also how you love yourself, Venus. And when it's with Saturn, this person has very low self-love. He does not, and it's imposed again by, very likely, by the partnership, how he's been treated as well. And of course, it's in the fifth house, which also accepts children. It also rules anything to do with self-confidence. So his self-confidence is so ashamed and so down. But I wanted to quickly jump to the chart of his dad to show you now here. He has, we don't have the time of birth, so we can't see too much, but he has Saturn conjunct Mars, the most difficult combination in astrology that can create cruelty in the sign of Scorpio, of trauma and sexual abuse. So the two most cruel planet in the most cruel sign. This person might have been abused themselves. We can't see exactly. If I knew which house it is in, I could say it comes from father or it comes, but it seems he was born already with that darkness. And someone, and this is in the sign of distraction, the two most destructive planets, Saturn and Mars, in the sign of distraction, Scorpio. This can create a lot of distraction in the world. And look, these two signs, Saturn and Mars, in Scorpio, actually trigger the ashamed combination of Bill Gates and Scorpio. So where does the shame come from? Where does this this really difficult, like ashamed the vibration? It comes from the father. I think they might have been physical abuse. I think he might have beaten them. I think he might have tortured him. I think he might sexually have abused him. I don't want to go that far, but it is just that cruel combination of the father that triggers the self-esteem, and that actually is the reason for the self that, you know, it's in Scorpio where the all the shamefulness of Bill Gates come, and all these shameful acts that he creates later on. Of course, Bill Gates' shameful combination is in Scorpio sign of death, so a lot of shame around death. But look at the father. Another thing that was fascinating is that he has Pluto, the planet of death and destruction, in the sign of Cancer, together with the North Node. North Node is something that you come as a mission in this incarnation. Divine mission, call it. The most destructive planet with the planet of divine mission in the sign of Cancer. That's family. It's like destruction of family. That's the Cancer rules the womb. So he created Planned Parenthood. And that's the kind of, that can just, you know, I'm not saying it's fully negative. People need to sometimes have abortions, but that destabilizes the foundation of family. And Cancer rules mothers, family, the womb, little children. So this was a mission of destruction of family and mothers and you know, the womb, whatever it symbolizes. Plus, you know, with this combination of Saturn and Mars and Pluto, lots of death. That's a combination of lots of death, basically. And it becomes fascinating how it's, you know, and Bill Gates carried on that mission because Bill Gates' ascendant is on the North Node and Pluto of the father. So he carried on the father's mission, so to speak. The ascendant is what you do here in life. And of course, the father has some great things like Venus, Jupiter in Capricorn. That's great wealth that you can create. Sun in Sagittarius. He was very philosophically minded. Whatever he did it out of his own principles, and his principles that he believed in something bigger. He believed in something bigger, something philosophical, you know, might have been inspired by other types of entities. They're not only necessarily divine entities, but there was a lot of faith of him in that, and that vision for the world. And his actions were very ideologically minded, but very destructive, especially destructive overall, because Scorpio is the sign of death. Cancer is the sign of the family. So there was that. Well, we have Melinda Gates, and she has a shamed yoga. We call it a shamed yoga again, because we have one malefic with one of the nodes and another planet. So hers falls in the sign because we don't know what house it is. So she has shame or ability to shame others or to do something that's very shameful. That will be pointed the finger at, and people say shame on you. That's one of the laws of vibration. You know, shame vibrates lower than fear or lower than anger. Shame is you know, shame on you. It's such painful word just to say. So there is this shame combination in Cancer. What does Cancer rule? Families. Again, what she's doing, there is something shameful about families, about, you know, Cancer rules the womb, the child growing in the womb. And of course, Cancer rules little children as well. So it's you don't even need to know the houses here, and you can see some themes that are reappearing in the father, in Melinda, in Bill Gates. And the only other thing I can see, and she's a very strong woman. The sun is in Leo. That's like she's the boss. Very confident in, like you said, in her inferior ego, superior ego. Very bright woman. This woman has an exceptional mind. Mercury is in Virgo. This is the mind of a, I don't know, genius. I think she's brighter than Bill Gates, if you can say. It's just analytical mind. I think she was a programmer herself or something like that. Very high level manager, but very analytical mind, very quickly thinking. So she has some good, let's say, talents there. But this shamefulness here, and that's Cancer rules her own family. There's something that might have happened in her own family through the mother or the parents that created this. But there is something that she imprints after that on the world that creates that shameful energy. And then the only other thing, the husband in a woman's chart, so because I don't have time of birth, I can't see from other angles. So Jupiter rules the husband. So I decided to see where is Jupiter in Melinda Gates' horoscope. And it's Jupiter is at the 24th degree of Taurus. That's the degree of the star Algol, the most malefic star in the sky. it's a star of wealth. First of all, it gives a lot of wealth, but wealth at the price of tragedy. And Algol, the ancient Chinese and the ancient Indians describe the star Algol as corpses upon corpses upon corpses. And
Wow.
the planet her husband is, you know, of the Jupiter. So I'm not necessarily saying everyone who has Jupiter there will have that, you know, but it's just quite interesting here.
You know what's interesting? We didn't have with us the numbers, but a while ago we read the frequency of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Do you remember that number?
1.
That's right. Out of 1,000, it was a frequency of 1.
Destruction.
Absolute destruction. Actually just confirms what you shared. Corpses upon corpses and destruction,
Yes.
and this maleficent energy.
And Moderna also vibrates at 1.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the two
It's a company.
lowest you ever read was Gavi and Moderna and the Circle Company, wasn't it? They all were at 1 degree,
Yes.
which is purposeful destruction of life. It's kind of the darkest you can go.
Wow.
Exactly.
But it's so amazing to see this in the charts, to see how frequencies play out with
yeah, but
Mhm.
if they had like a vibration of 500 or whatever low, I'll look at this chart and I'll see how actually those dark combinations, because they have dark, difficult combinations, how they could be transformed and how they manifest on the highest level, because they would have there is higher vibration for every combination. But with those ones, I just have to take what the lowest explanation, what the ancient gave an explanation, because they would, you know, they were quite direct with some words and
yes.
correspond to it.
And it's interesting because for us, like what I'm curious about is, yes, you could see the transformation happening when the person comes in on the power side on above 200 or 200 and above, right? They can go flip flop, like we've seen in, what was the guy that was born at 30? Russell Brand. Born at 30, now he's at 500, right? Or the opposite of that, Jeffrey Epstein, born at 500, went into 55. So what's interesting, and I'm curious if you've ever read Absolute Shadow Players with their full charts, like that would be a very interesting thing to see, because if they come here and they absolutely enjoy their role, they're not going to shift because they're loving and they're aligned with their mission.
Yeah, we
right?
should the chart of someone like that, and then you read for all those combinations, the laws. But like we saw with Russell Brand, which when he was at 30-50 vibration, his chart showed like as addiction, as sex addictions, drug addictions, and then the same planets, when he shifted in the same houses, they manifest as you helping those in such problems that have had addictions, that, you know, helping people out of and giving service. So you see, that's a bit difficult with astrology to see, are they playing at this level or that level? That's why the vibrational revelations is an amazing tool to see. Amazing. Sometimes it can be used to judge a person if you come from that point of mind. But it was just so telling. And I think even without the vibrational revelations, the chart of the father, I would be like, you know, there's danger here to be very destructive. And you have to be well in very high spiritually to control this combination of Saturn and Mars in Scorpio, Pluto in Cancer interaction there. But it's definitely shows in Bill Gates' chart how it's the father impacted him.
And I also think the father just came in, he played out his role well, because that's what he was here to do. He was actually here to play out in the shadows. So
well done to him.
Well done to him. And then now it's time for all of us to wake up and shift into the light.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Lada.
Yes, thank you.
This was a lot of fun as always.
Thank you so much for having me on, Elena, Alejandro. Can't wait to see you again to discuss someone else. I hope you don't take us off YouTube with our controversial topics always.
Right.
Well, I think they don't know much about frequencies and astrology. I think this is not very interesting to them.
I hope so, yes. I hope we get to the right people, whoever it is that have to hear that. Because I started as well at the beginning, I wasn't sure, is it good, is it bad? Or when all those companies came up last year, when you started measuring them, I was like, okay, help me make up my mind, basically. So I hope
I think it confuses many who are not into this. It confuses them. What the heck are they talking about? What are these numbers? So if you're not aligned with it, great. If you are, great. Whatever resonates.
Either way, we're going to continue.
Yes.
That will hear it. That's what I believe.
Yes. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Yes.
Thank you
so much
for having me on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.